change our scene over to webpage review. And let us take a look at ESO PTS patch notes 6.3.0. You probably already listened to a lot of other people talk about these the other day here. I'm going to do a quick rundown. I'm not going to spend hours on this. I'm going to try not to spend hours on this. But there are some interesting points I figured should be made. And we'll take a look at a little bit later on a full thing of them. So 6.3.0 is the Flames of Ambition DLC, which is going to be introducing 2 new DLC dungeons as part of the Gates of Oblivion event. In addition to that, we're also having significant changes done over to the base game, including the champion system changes, armor changes, advanced stats, fast travel outside the house, furnishing house guest previews, new homes, new furnishings, new antiquities, new battleground collectibles, system mailings, and update 30 prologue quest of Mortal's Touch. Hello, Charming. Hello, honey. So, boring stuff, I know, but there's a lot of stuff coming in here, a lot of changes coming in here that kind of need explaining, I guess. So, first 2 new dungeons, Black Drake Villa, which is going to be off the Gold Coast, an Imperial-based dungeon, where you're basically going into an Imperial house, overrun by cultists and Minotaurs, and fighting them off. I believe that is the 3-boss dungeon. So you're going to have 3 bosses with 3 hard, each one with the hard mode, much like Stone Garden. And you have the Cauldron, which has 5 bosses, and it's more of a Daedric, it's more of a cavern area that turns into a Daedric plain, from what I've seen. And each one has its own unique reward, skin, mementos, several titles, and unique housing items. Special. New item sets. We got a True Stone Fury light armor, spell critical, spell damage, match magicka, and then we have your 5-piece bonus is adds 708 spell critical and increases your critical damage by 4%. Bonus doubles when you're at 75% health. It quadruples when you're under 50% health. So it's basically like the Titanborn set that's in that other dungeon. I can't remember right offhand. Kieran's Wrath, medium armor set, weapon damage, weapon critical, weapon damage, and deal damage lighter heavy attack will grant you a stack of Burning Heart for 5 seconds, up to 5 stacks. When you have 5 stacks, you generate an aura, which gives you Major Berserk, increase your damage by 10%. While you have the Aura of Wrath, allies and 12 meters of you get Minor Berserk, increasing their damage for 5%. Interesting set, I think. I think this might actually be an interesting trial set as well. But maybe the people already have Major Berserk and Minor Berserk figured out. I'm not sure. I'm still interested to see though, because again, this is a 12-meter one here. Other question I have is if I keep on light and heavy attack weaving properly, am I going to keep this up indefinitely here, or does it have a cooldown? That's the other major question I have for that one. And then Drake's Rush heavy armor set, max health, stamina, and when you bash an enemy, you and up to 11 other group members within 15 meters gain major heroism for 12 seconds, granting 3 ultimates every 1.5 seconds. If I concur once every 18 seconds. Trying to think if there's what the sources you can get from major heroism. Might be used for something like a PvP build. I don't think it would be useful for PvE because I think you should already have sources for that. So I'm thinking more PvP with this one. And then finally enter is Behemoth Master Mask, Match Magicka, and dealing flame damage will grant the Behemoth's aura for 12 seconds that reaches out 12 meters. You and 11 group mates within the aura reduce flame damage taken by 5% by the enemies, increasing the aura of flame damage by 5%. If I concur once every 15 seconds. So 12-second uptime, and then 15 seconds down. So you're looking at like a 3-second down window. If 2 people have it, you could probably have 100% uptime. Now the other dungeon here, the Cauldron, you get Unleashed Ritualist Light Armor, Magicka, kind of like Draugar stuff here, I guess. And then dealing damage on enemies applies a Ritualist Mark for 10 seconds. Enemies with a Ritualist Mark take an additional 16% damage from your summoned pets. And they make a note here as well. This is any summoned pet like Mad Tinkerer, Defiler, etc., but does not include pet-like effects such as Cliff Razor, Dive, or Honor from Cold Harvard's favorite set. And nice to see that as well. Dagon's Dominion, medium armor. Weapon damage, max stamina, weapon damage. Adds 492 weapon damage to your area effect abilities. This set is 492 to your effect abilities such... it's also your area effect abilities for healing abilities, such as Vigor or Soothing Spores. This one will be interesting. From what I understand, it doesn't work with a two-hander's... It doesn't work with a two-hander's heavy attack, but it will work with things like Reverse Slice. Fukular's Ward, heavy armor, max health, and activating block while in combat adds a damage shield to you and 3 group members within 18 meters for 2 seconds, absorbs 4,000 direct damage. If the damage shield breaks, the wearer receives 5,680 magic and stamina. This effect can occur once every 30 seconds if the shield is broken. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds if no shield is broken. Okay. And then Berazardus' Mask, stamina, magic, and health for the one piece, and applying status effect to your enemies grants you Azarus' Ambition for 10 seconds, up to 3 stacks. After the 3 stacks, the stacks are removed and you gain 3 ultimate. On gaining the ultimate, you cannot gain Azarus' Ambition for 2 seconds. Seems really low on ultimate game for that one. New collectibles, outfits and dyes, illusionary salamanders, person skins, outfits, yada yada yada. New achievements and titles. Take a look roll there. New furnishings, yep. 2 new motifs, Night Hollow and Wayward Guardians. Good to see. Now, base game. We're going to take a closer look at the champion point system changes here. I don't feel like I really want to go over all this jargon right now. But suffice it to say, I will put it this way. It looks like the champion system is changing a little bit more into the skill point system than the previous iteration that it had. And what that basically means is you pump in points to get a level of something, and then you have some things that act as true passives and other things that you have to slot like you would skills. So I'll get into that in a little bit and explain that a little bit more. Now, armor changes. Armor changes are a little interesting. I don't know how this is going to shake out until we actually do some PvP and fighting with it, but in short, light armor and heavy armor are both getting bonuses and penalties. Medium armor is only getting bonuses. Basically, light armor is acting antithesis to the heavy armor. And heavy armor is taking more damage from spells, while light armor is taking more damage from melee. Medium armor is right in the middle. And they're also reducing some of the standard passives for medium armor as well. It looks like what they're doing with this is making it so that medium armor is kind of like the right in the middle type of area for your stamina builds. However, it doesn't give you as much armor, and it doesn't give you as much benefit as maybe saying putting on heavy armor and having that extra heavy armor. But heavy armor still has that one little chink in there, that chink in that armor that's the magic attacks can do more damage into it. Light armor, on the other hand, is a little bit more slippery, but can take more melee damage, and they can't roll dodge as much, but they're going to have some issues. My feelings on this right now is I have to take a look to see what the fighting is. I have concerns because typically medium armor builds are very dodgy already. Like, they do a lot of roll dodging, and this does things like reduces area effect damage. Area effect damage is one of the few ways that you can hit somebody in medium armor while they're roll dodging. So you're basically taking the one effective method against them. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see how that works out and how that goes off. They kind of go in the rock paper scissors method. I think it needs a little bit more tweaking. You voted outright buffing the exact same playstyles, the armor styles, yada yada yada. They explain all that, and they kind of go over some of the changes here. where they're basically buffing up some of the light and heavy armor, or light and heavy armor stuff, but medium armor is kind of getting a reduction overall. Advanced sets, you can now view combat stats, event stats. You can now view additional combat stats in your character, and this is available for everyone between PC and console. It's all there. Fast traveling outside of houses. So if you're somebody who bought a house simply so you could travel to it, go outside and get to his own, now they give you the option of simply choosing to go inside your house or outside your house, so you don't have to do the extra load screen. Pretty simple. Furnishings and housing preview improvements. So they give you a few more options in the way that you can preview something, especially house gets. You get a few lines to see what they say and if they're actually going to be good for your house. 2 new homes, which I'll take a look at. New furnishings, new dwarven structural items, new master writ furnishings. I kind of would like to get into as well. And some other ones getting removed. New crown store, new undaunted quartermaster furnishings. New crown store furnishing, the ethereal well, which basically gives you all your health, magicka, stamina, and ultimate back, which is probably going to be important when you go into PvP for battlegrounds, because usually after you do a battleground, you have to kill a few enemies to get your ultimate up. Instead, you probably just go to your house, wait around your ethereal well after you've done a battleground, and just pump yourself back up. New antiquities to go with stuff, but I don't think it's any artifacts. New battlegrounds collectibles, including basically chaos ball emotes, dances, and boom. System mail deletion organization changes. System mails will now remain in your inbox for a limited time, after which time they'll be deleted. This mirrors current behavior of player sent mail. So this means all those people who have mail sent to them by NPCs or like rewards to the worthy, you need to get that stuff out of there. You can't keep it in there indefinitely. I am guilty of that as well. I'm gonna have to clean my stuff out. Update 30 prologue quest, basically going over the upcoming change with that. PTS cycle, Flames of Oblivion, have a couple of template characters you can play around with. Sure. Champion system, tooltips, few changes there. Asylum, change a few enemies. Sunspire, a few more telegraphs being changed, which is good. Clan Liberators, Antiquities. Dungeons, Unhallowed Grave. They've made some improvements here to make it a little bit more understandable. Lore War and Dusk. Falling through the portal no longer requires a synergy to prevent the fall damage from death. Good to see. And the reason that's good to see is because I know people that kept on like lagging when they did that drop, and they couldn't hit the synergy in time and died, even though it was supposed to protect them when they fell. Veilstrand's Hollows, changing some of that. Brimstone Den, Hunter's Grotto, Champion Circle. So they're basically reducing some of this stuff here, making it easier to understand some telegraphs. Housing, furnishings, achievements, yada yada. Yep. Toxic coolant and secret projectiles now correctly increase damage on players affected by the exhaustion or extreme exhaustion. Dungeons, Moonhunter Keeps, made a bunch of changes to some of these dungeons here. You can read them all, but I like some of them here because, like, for example, Frostvault, they made the False Vault Protector, the one you have to kind of go around, a lot easier to work with. And it, like, you can actually CC the ads in that now. So it's actually like doable for a tank to do his job in that one now. General, gain resistances to particular damage type no longer grants immunity to the status effects, which is good because some people were just kind of immune to anything. Like chilled effects, for example, didn't work on Nords, so ice mages got shut down pretty easily. Monsters no longer have a chance to drop random status effects such as burning poisons from their attacks naturally, and only apply these status effects with the intentional means that are designed for. AKA, if they do an ability that's supposed to give like a chilled effect or a burning effect, that's still going to do it, but they're not going to do it on their standard attack anymore. Fixing any issues with the abilities and item sets and passes. Dealt damage had the incorrect chance to proc the respective status types, which might change some builds. Fix an issue with the failed ground targeting ability could cause you to become unable to cast other ground target abilities. Thank you. That's something that's been bothering me and like really affected my DPS rotation. Like if I'm off on ground target abilities, I can just sit there and just not do anything until I bar swap for a long time. And it's so freaking annoying when I'm trying to parse. Player source synergies now will attempt to cull their animations whenever you activate a synergy, when you activate abilities, and reduce the animation errors and utilization in tandem when weaving around ability usage. Note, werewolves no longer animate when activating synergies. Fix the issues where multiple healing abilities and sets were bound to area effects were not properly detecting the heal over times. Fix numerous issues where certain bonuses could be unintentionally applied for their effects on the abilities or sets. Okay, now buffs and debuffs. There are now 3 new status effects, the following types of damage: bleed, physical, and magic damage. Bleed damage has a chance to apply major hemorrhage, which will slightly make weaker. It deals slightly weaker damage than burning over 4 seconds and applies minor mangle to the effect angle. And minor mangle is basically you do less damage, I believe. Physical damage now has a chance to do sunder. This applies minor damage and applies minor breach for 4 seconds, meaning it takes away armor. Magic damage now has an ability to do overcharge. It deals minor damage and applies minor magic steal for 4 seconds. So you might not need to do as much. You might not have to worry so much about your elemental weakness anymore. There's some issues with status effects such as disease, chill, a concussion could fail to be recognized. Fix an issue or immobilizes and more properly labeled as status effects. Minor brittle. Fix an issue where this debuff could not be applied via this chilled effect if the target had longer duration of minor maim active. So a lot of folks were having issues with minor maim not coming on to PTS and networking in general on dummies. I think that was part of the issue there. Dragonites, lava whip, molten whip. Fix an issue with where the weapon and spell damage from this passive did not appear on the character sheet. Draconic power, dark talons. This ability in choking talons morph now deals flame damage rather than magic damage. The ignite synergy now also deals flame damage rather than magic damage. Then that's actually pretty important right there, I think. Elfbane will be increased with that, and I think you'll also see other changes to that because of burning changes as well, as mentioned above with the debuffs. Then Earthheart, Petrify, Shattering Rocks. Morph now heals you when the stun ends on the enemy, rather than causing the enemy's next target, because the next attack to heal their target. This also fixes numerous issues where the heal belonged to the attacker and uses their stats rather than yours. I guess that makes sense. Necromancer, Gravelord, Frozen Colossus, fixing an issue with the ultimate as Morse could return as damage over time in some cases. Okay, Nightblade Assassination, marked target. Fixing an issue with his ability as Morse and Major Breach could be removed if the ability was recast while still active on the target. Effect now will be considered 2 negative effects instead of 1. One for Major Breach and the other for the mark that grants the caster the resources if the marked target dies. Similar to the other abilities, applies multiple effects, such as Power of Light. Okay. Shadow, consuming darkness. Hit a refresh and now ticks once every second instead of every half second, and adjusted the healing totals to be roughly the same. Synergy is active and now displays when you hover over active effects. Veiled Strike, surprise attack. The morph now applies Sunder effect on hit rather than reducing the target's physical resistance by 5% if you successfully flank the target. Okay, getting in line, that's fine. Siphoning, cripple, debilitate. This morph now applies overcharge, which is the minor magic steel, right? Rather than applying magic and minor steel in the duration. Okay. This effect also fixes the issue where magic steel could be removed if you recast the ability early. Makes sense. Sorcerer, dark magic. Crystal Shard, reduce the damage for the ability in this crystal fraction by approximately 2% to match the proper range cast time standard. Makes sense. Daedric Mines. Fix an issue where the ability and its morphs are considered area effect attacks. And only hit one per target per mine. That makes sense. Like the mine can only hit one person, so why is it an AoE? Fix an issue where the ability could return as damage over time in some cases. Okay, I would like to know what those cases were. Daedric Summoning, Daedric Curse. An issue where the ability and its morphs could cause you the next animation to hitch or jitter. Okay. Storm Calling, Overload. Fix an issue where the heavy attack with his ultimate and his morphs could be used for damage over time in some cases. I'm gonna guess that some of this might be if you had like a heavy weapon on or something, or maybe a lightning staff. Templar, Adric's Spear, Burning Light. Passive now has a 3-second window between each stack rather than a 1.1 second window. To reduce the cadence at which you must consistently attack with Adric's Spear abilities. Okay. Dawn's Wrath, Solar Flare. Reduce the cast time for this ability and the Dark Flare morph by 0.8 seconds, down from 1 second. Reduce the damage. Reduce the cost of variations. Okay. So the cast time abilities or approach. Yeah, basically it's just keeping in line with everything else. Restoring Light. Fix an issue where this passive did not play a grant its stated armor when you're in the channel and rate of passage or as worse. Okay. Warden, Winter's Embrace, Frozen Gate. Fix an issue where the damage from this ability and its morphs could be returned as damage over time. Bow. Heavy attack with a bow has a completely new reload animation that's faster and smoother than before, and 100% less jitters. Thank you. The power of Sober Mind does wonders on the battlefield. Yeah, the animation for the bow is always going to be kind of like a reason why you stay away from it for high DPS rotations. If it's better, maybe I can actually do a rotation with it better. Accuracy. This passive now grants critical chance rather than weapon critical. Rank 1 now gives 6% critical chance, up from 5. Are they making this a Magicka stamina hybrid thing? Be kind of weird. Snipe. Reduce the cast time to 8 seconds. Abilities morphs now have much faster, smoother animation. Reduce the damage done by approximately 21%. Reduce the cost. Increase the travel speed slightly to help reduce the ability to fire off multiple projectiles before the original projectile lands. Thank you. That's important right there. A big issue with Snipe was the fact that the travel time took long enough that you could get a light attack and another attack off and get yourself back into stealth, so it actually hit as a stealth attack after you shot it. Didn't make any sense to me. So dev reply here. Similar to Solar Flare, yep, they're making it more online, but again, the travel speed change here is big. Especially for all those folks that were doing ganking inside PvP using that. Dual Wield, Blade Cloak. Deadly Cloak reduces the visual and audio effect of this ability to once every 2 seconds rather than every second, making it less obnoxious. Note, this will still deal damage every second. Okay. Rend, Driving Chaos. More hitboxes more accurately matches the visual effects, resulting in a significant area of effect increase. Okay. Twin Blade and Blunt. Rework the passives. Axis Nail do critical damage and healing done by 2 and 4%, rather than give a chance to bleed. This is kind of weird. Axis now increase your critical damage and healing done. Daggers now deal 1.2 and 1.3 critical chance per dagger, rather than 2.5. Okay, they're just reducing that. Maces now give anticipation per minute, rather than ignoring 5 to 10% of the target's physical resistance. Okay, so it's making a flat value there. Swords now grant 7.1 and 142 weapon damage per sword, rather than increasing damage done by 3 to 6%. Okay, again, making flat values out of a lot of stuff here. Two-hander, heavy weapons, reworked the bonuses. Okay, so again, axes are going to be critical damage and healing done, not doing bleeds anymore. Maces are reducing the arm penetration. And swords, they're going to be doing the weapon damage and spell damage increase rather than, wait, weapon and spell damage. Is that the same for that? Wait. Swords are now granting 71 and 140. I didn't read that right before. Damn, okay. So swords now grant 71 and 42 weapon damage per sword rather than the damage done by 3. Okay, so that's there. But then two-handers. Critical damage, healing done, and then swords are now granting 142 and 248 weapon and spell damage rather than increasing damage done by 3 and 6%. I gotta see if that's clarified. That is a weird change. I think they're trying to go for hybrid builds with this. Also, thank you everyone in chat. You go Stereo. How you doing, Hamburger? Give a shout out to Flameage there as we read through some of these. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to work with hybrid builds with some of these changes. World Soul Magic. Soul Strike fixed an issue with his ultimate, and his Morse could be failed to trigger on sets. Okay. Vampire Mistform. Fixed an issue with his ability, and his Morse would cancel themselves if failing. Fixed an issue where the ability could fail to give a proper CC immunity in some cases. That's good. Fixing an issue with this where attempting to use his ability after casting the ability would cause you to immediately leave the form. Yeah, Mistform was having some issues, right? In the current cycle or the current patch. That's good to see. Werewolf. These tell me I'm pretty sure we're having some nerfs here. First thing's Fortitude. Reduces health and stamina recovery from the Capitalist Morph to 33, down from 66, which I think it really needed. Brutal Pounce. Fixed an issue where the Brutal Carnage damage done over time was not properly inheriting. The damage increased from Carnage's rank up progression. So they increased the damage beyond that. Savage Strength. Passive now grants major resolve in both ranks, rather than increasing your armor by 5 and 10,000. This is done as to tone down some of the staggering defenses werewolves could obtain with little or no effort. Thank you. Werewolf Transformation. Dire Summon from the ultimate no longer taunt enemies and causes them to behave erratic since they cannot be targeted. Yeah, that was another issue as well. I see a lot of tank werewolves out there relying on those dogs, and the dog, like if the boss has something that has to target a player, but they can't get the tank because the tank didn't taunt them and the enemies are ethereal, the boss would freak out sometimes and hit a DPS. So that's probably for the better. All right, Fighters Guild, Banish the Wicked. Passive now grants 1, 2, and 3 ultimates rather than 3, 6, and 9. While having a Fighters Guild ability slotted, rather than we kill an Undead, Daedra, or Werewolf. So that's going to make some Fighters Guild stuff more useful to use on any enemy. But it's still reducing it overall. Alright. Mages Guild, Entropy, fixing issues, abilities, and Morse could cause your next animation to hitch or jitter. Spell Symmetry, fix an issue with casting this ability could desync your Magicka bar. Assault, Alliance Roar Assault, continuous attacks. Passive now grants a major gallop when you purchase it, when purchased from rank 1 or 2. Rapid Maneuvers. This ability as Morse now no longer grant major gallop on cast since it no longer is necessary. I'll have to take a look at the build again here. So what are we doing here? Reducing the cost of rapid maneuvers here, but I'm trying to remember, like, that doesn't seem right. We'll have to see. I might be. I'm trying to figure out what rapid maneuvers is doing now if it's not giving a major gallop. Just expedition. All right. Racial. So I increased the racial passes with champion points. I've been reworked and a few standards within the bonus efficiencies. So basically, adjusting these to go with the champion point changes. I'll let folks read those themselves here, but it's more just like stat stuff here. I didn't see anything here that was like majorly changing. Though, like Nord here, for example, they were like reducing the armor done here, and they no longer grant immunity to status effects on some of these. That's a big thing as well. So like your warden will no longer just want to avoid a fight with a Nord. Now, itemization changes, I've seen a few, and I've seen some of them talked about. I don't know the exact changes that this will impact, but reducing the amount of critical chance rating gear sets per bonuses down from 3%, or down to 3% from 3.8%. This means all sets means all sets and passives that grant critical rating have been adjusted to meet the new standard. All the single items below, yada yada yada. Changing. Previously, critical chance was a source of very abundantly, and it was clear winner in terms of chaseable stats for endgame damage in PvE, while having natural counters the operational cost in PvP. The main source of this issue is the fact that the standard critical chance rating was too high, meaning item sets, passives granted out there were out of line compared to the other things like weapon damage, spell penetration, spell damage, penetration. So they adjusted all the critical ratings to go down and left the other stuff where it was. Yeah, so yeah, it's reducing crit chance in general, but the problem here is that, like they kind of mentioned it up here. If you have if you have so many sources that you're getting 3.8% here, stacked on top of stack, you can easily just hit your marker like 50% crit without having to worry about lowering your stats for your weapon damage, your stamina, or your other like penetration. So reducing that makes it so that you're going to lose some critical. Maybe now instead of getting 50% here, you might get somewhere roughly around like 40% instead. We just had a little bit more there. Sorry about that. About there. Okay. And I can say, yeah, that makes sense. Like a lot of the sets that were being used for trials were the same sets over and over again because they give critical chance, and they give a lot of critical chance here. Now some things might actually work better in certain builds than other builds, so it'll be interesting to see how that changes. I'm sure people have already crunched the numbers and figured out what the next big meta will be, but we'll see what it turns out. In an effort to combat the effectiveness of the pre-buff sets, or sets that have retained their effects after activating unequipped abilities, we made adjustments to the following adjustments. These sets now require to be in combat for 5-piece activation bonuses. All Halls of Fabrication sets, Armor Master, Meritus Service, Moon Dancer, Shroud of the Lich, Spectre's Eye, Tooth of the Locust, Undaunted Infantry, and Weaver. These buffs will no longer be retained if you unequip the number of pieces required to activate them. Balrog and Stygian. They're reducing this base in smaller words. This is stopping a lot of exploiting. It's done by Dressing Room. And this has been an issue in ESO since launch. People like, the good thing with add-ons is that you can make an add-on that can help you just swap your gear sets really quick, really good. Okay, that's a good thing. However, people were exploiting them to be like the most clear, the clearest way that they abused this was with Clever Alchemist. When Clever Alchemist first came out, people would equip it, hit a potion, use their hot swap button to like swap it out for like, let's say, Hunting's Rage, and then they would keep the benefit of Clever Alchemist while wearing Hunting's Rage as it replaced it to get a higher stat boost so they can then gank, go back into stealth, switch back into Clever Alchemist, wait for the potion cooldown, and then wait for the next gank. This is a very similar issue here, and this is what they're fixing, and it's good to see they're doing something about it. Crafted Adept Rider. This now permanently grants Major Gallop and Major Expedition when worn, rather than granting Major Evasion when mounted and creating harmful area effects. Yep, because no one was ever using it. With this rework, we expect this to remain a niche set for the functionality, but far more for beginner and crafter friendly to help traverse the game world, especially for low levels who can't attain these buffs easily. Yeah, so if you're a newbie, this is actually going to be a nice set. Or if you have your speedy ring from doing antiquities, you're going to equip this, and you're going to zoom around while you're doing your surveys or you're doing your writs. So yeah, I think a lot of people are going to use that set. Dungeon area, Draugar's Claws. This set now grants 129 weapon damage and its 5-piece bonus. Decreases the weapon damage per bleed. Some of the changes are the fact that the axes no longer apply bleed. In addition to the hemorrhaging status effect, with these adjustments, you should now see far less swingy in performance and shine in specialized bleed builds with less variance on chance. Flame Blossom issues, Iron Blood, Strength of Automaton. This now clarifies the bleed damage. So yeah, they're changing a lot of sets that had bleed effects to them. This is a big one, but I don't know how big of a change it's going to be. So, Trials, Alakash. The armor reduction portion of this now scales 100% off your weapon damage, up to a cap of 3,000, rather than basing its value off the damage done. Fix an issue where the set was not properly labeled as a proc. The previous adjustments are to help it shine more with when utilized by stamina damage dealers miss the mark. So we're converting this. We're converting it to have something more with far less variance and total power. Note that the value is still relatively achievable by tank builds who wish to run it instead, but they may need to run some extra weapon damage where it's normally might not reach it. Yeah, so stamina tanks are going to be able to take advantage of this, whereas Magicka-based tanks are not. I had somebody saying, I think it was Spark who was saying that it was going to go away there. And my necro tank is stamina based, so that doesn't really change a whole lot for me. I'm pretty sure with the stats I can get, I could probably run this again. PvP sourced. Let's see his bulwark. This set now caps at 1320 health recovery. Fix multiple issues where you could gain procs off the abilities that did not attempt to reduce target's resistances. Monster Mass Selene. Set no longer has a 15% proc chance and now has a guaranteed proc chance on non-proc melee damage. Cooldown's up to now to 6 seconds. Reduce the damage dealt to 11,000. With the adjustments, you create lower DPS than the high-end builds, utilizing rapid hitting melee attacks such as jabs or rapid strikes, while helping perform better for lower-end builds with to utilize singular target hit spambles. Tremor scales fix an issue where this sets physical resistance reduction could include a snare in some cases. Okay, And that is most of the abilities here. Again, the big one I think here is Alakash and the changes there. You're not going to see on Magicka tanks as much. Probably much more stamina tanks. I think in I'm going to guess that in dungeons, it's still probably going to be used. In trials, it's going to be hit or miss. I've already heard people talking about going away from Alakash inside trials because the penetration is already pretty high. And going with other sets like Powerful Assault and other buff sets there, even Gallonway. So yeah, we might still see more changes there. Our animations, figures changes, general, crown store crates, dungeon and group content. Yep. No longer flickering and teleporting. So basically fixing a lot of bugs here. I didn't think there was anything that was too major or anything that like stood out to me that was like, this has to be fixed. Vortex, Stonebreaker. Players that die to the Stonebreaker will afflict with spraying poison will no longer damage nearby enemies with Poison Blast when they die. The damage will correctly come from the Stonebreaker. Okay. Anniversary events, exploration, itemization. Move several mementos that had non-cosmetic uses to tools section and collectibles menu, including the following. Okay, Jubilee Cake makes sense to put in the tools menu, as well as the Wither. Bottomless Mead Mug and the Fire Rock, I guess those are part of the event. I'd be interested to see if they could put the scroll in the mementos, to be honest. I hate having to go and do the thing there and have it in my inventory every year. Update several things, typos, housing. Moving around some stuff to miscellaneous in general. Facing clients. So a few things here. Reduce the load times when moving between zones. Optimize the threading and rendering process for the clients and load distribution on the server. Previewing your inventory now allows items that are other than just items and furniture to be previewed, including weapons, containers, other grantables, etc. Gamepad mode added search to various inventory screens. And they fixed other crashables in there. So that's the patch notes in a nutshell. If you guys want to take a look more detailed, they're on the forums. I won't do another review of this until they actually come out, maybe. Even then, I'm probably not going to go ham on it like I did tonight. But these are the basic notes here. I'll put that in chat for anyone that wants to look at it. And folks that are watching this on YouTube as part of a clip. Well, I hope you enjoyed. We'll take a little bit more at PTS and some of the specifics there as well. Anyways, I'm Hero Done. See y'all in Tamriel.